Hello and welcome back. Today we're continuing our Victoria 3 run. Our Victoria run. We don't have Victoria. We have Charles Dickens, but we are continuing in Victoria 3 for our UK run. Last episode was a bit of a struggle bus episode. It was actually quite sad. The humanitarian that we had gotten in order to try and pass multiculturalism couldn't keep it in his pants and died of syphilis. And then also we were having a lot of trouble in regards to, so we couldn't get on multiculturalism, big sad. Also, we were having a lot of trouble with our subjects keeping low liberty desire as a result of annexing Persia in the previous episode. Still having a bit of struggle with it. Might need to raise autonomy on some of these guys. I'm not really sure the best way forward on this because we haven't interacted with that much. I think it's probably best to raise autonomy on some of these cats, but we hate to see it. We hate to do it. Because we want to be able to generate enough cohesion to pull people into our bloc, people like Ukraine, and then make them our subject using our sovereign empire powers. So this is something we kind of struggled with. This episode, hopefully we can win the great game. We do have to gain control over the Caucasus, Central Asia, and Persia, or get people into our bloc, and that seems like quite a big task, or Russia has to not be a great power. That will also immediately end it. And it might actually just be more straightforward to get them out of being a GP. They have to get under 310. If we humiliate them, they lose 10 or 20%, so that's 120 off the top. And so if we do a combination of humiliate and raiding and releasing a bunch of countries, maybe that'll be enough to do it. We can hopefully do that today. And so that's kind of what I think we'll be working towards, in addition to maybe finding someone who can keep it in their pants. That way we can, maybe pass multiculturalism, which would be very nice as well. The new France that emerged because we didn't help out the old France has now made their own power block, which is fine. The Paris Convention, we see that it is a sovereign empire. Okay, cool. And also, we are trying to immediately, all hands on deck, as best we can, improve relations with them and try and get out from under this wary attitude. We really don't want to have that. We don't want them siding in plays against them. We want to get good relations, and because they're a GP, we can get a bankroll from them eventually. We are currently bankrolling them. I think we might stop. 25k is, 25k is really not that expensive, but it will allow us to kind of work things up very quickly. We have also gotten a trade agreement, so we're getting ticking positive relations of a 7 tick. And so we should be able to improve relations with them very, very quickly, and we're hoping that this will eventually, sometime down the road, lead to a bankroll for us. So we have completely cleared out all of the armed forces generals, and also consolidated some armies. This should also help with a little bit of lag, but I don't think it does too much. But what we'll also be doing is we are going to be recruiting up guys, looking specifically for, oh my god, he was right on top of the pile, not like this. Okay, well, we purged the armed forces anyways, and we managed to find a non-syphilitic humanitarian, which is exactly what we're looking for, and he was just there all along. We journeyed through a bath of blood, and he was just right here. Okay, well, we'll recruit him, we'll promote him up, but we're not going to just, like, roll over and just not make use of the fact that we exiled all of these, so we're going to also retire through our entire cooldown of armed forces guys. I think we're going to specifically look for an armed forces feminist as well, that is popular, and try and have them as our next armed forces guy. But by doing this, we can clear out the queue and reset the things. Now, as soon as we unpause, they'll become insurrectionary, very, very big pissed, big bad. And so that's why we're not going to unpause just yet, but we're going to do the same thing for the army to clear out the queue. Not like this. We found a person without syphilis immediately. Who knew it was so easy? But we'll just keep doing this. We're looking specifically for someone who's popular and a feminist, but I think that while we're at it, we might try and recruit up some trade union guys if we can, but we'll want to focus on that more after we've unpaused, because these guys' clout will collapse, and proportionally this will increase trade union clout a little bit, and with that increased clout, it makes it more likely for you to roll more of those things, and so we'll be less likely while rolling to roll armed forces, which was very much the idea, because we didn't want to recruit like another 10 armies to find a humanitarian, but we found one immediately because, yeah. I realize we actually probably still don't want to unpause yet because we will not be able to maneuver or manipulate anything once we unpause. So we're going to take this guy out. We're going to retire this commander and we will be replaced. Actually, we got to double check real quick. Make sure that the humanitarian with 35 popularity is indeed our most popular intelligentsia guy, which I'm pretty sure he should be, but he might not be. So we're going to just double check real quick. And when we exile the intelligentsia leader, they will be replaced with the most popular admiral or general, or occasionally with a historic figure. We really hope we don't roll into a historic figure here. We have a couple of humanitarians. One of them's not very popular, but we are going to say, smell you later, my guy. We're going to exile you. We're going to exile you even though you're a decent general, and he's replaced by a historic guy. No, not like this. We just got teased with the humanitarian. Okay, but this is something that could happen. And of course, it's much more likely to happen with the UK. Big sad. But we are at least comforted by the fact that we know that when this guy dies, the humanitarian will be the one to pick up the pieces. And he's only 37. This other guy is 58. That we kind of rolled in. God, that sucks so hard for us. That sucks something off. That's... I mean, at least we didn't get syphilis, but instead we got a market liberal, which is kind of the same thing. So we're going to continue rolling and manipulating clout because we're kind of, this is the soup we're swimming in, but we'll reform the government back to this. These guys will leave the government basically immediately, but we'll still take a look at a whole bunch of generals and try and kind of set things up for our Russia war. We also, knocked our way into a little bit of an ingress or a place we could push into Russia through the Kazakh Khanate immediately before this. So armed forces fall to 4.2% clout. 4% clout is enough to marginalize them, so I think we might even just try and marginalize them at this point if they're going to be this upset anyways. If you're going to be mad, you're going to have to go home. We're going to suppress them, except we need more authority to suppress them. The truth hurts. We'll do the little authority trick. Oop. I said we'll do the little authority trick, we'll suppress them, and then we'll reduce the taxes back down, having a little bit of a penalty. I forget if they... I think they can still be insurrectionary when they are, when this is going on, but it will be really nice, even if they get marginalized, but it will be nice to marginalize them so we don't have to pay for as much for military goods. Very anticlimactic here. We put in several war goals against Russia, including releasing Ural, releasing the Far East. Those were primary. So was Baku, which was our original primary war goal. 240 oil appears here, and we suspected that they wouldn't back down to just humiliate and war reps, being the other two war goals, but then they did back down. So super anticlimactic. We don't really get our Russia war, which is deeply unsatisfying because I don't think that's enough to, or anywhere near enough to, try and knock them down a peg in terms of not being a GP anymore, nor did it really get them out of Central Asia. So that's a bit of a miss on our part. So the struggle, the great game, aka Big Bro beating up on Little Bro, or Big Sister, rather, except we dethroned Victoria, so I guess it is Big Brother Charles Dickens, George Orwell would be proud, beating up on Russia, and so that is a little bit of a thing, but we will be able to probably gobble up all the Far East pretty quickly. I think we can probably just go for it all in one war so they don't back down, something like that, which is going to be nice for us in terms of actually having good-looking borders. And no comments on the borders. We're making them better. We're improving. So we noticed that it's actually possible for us to protectorate the Heavenly Kingdom, but we don't go for it straight away because if we did it, it would cost over 25 infamy, and it was just 28 infamy. And so, Hakka primary culture. Is that because they went Heavenly Kingdom? But anyways, we just took one state off of them, and we are hoping that in about 5 years, we will be able to protectorate them for under 25 infamy. But we see that it's still, despite us peeling one state off of them, it's still the same 28 level infamy. Well, that's a bit unfortunate. Maybe that's just the max. Is that just the absolute max is the 50x, and so it'll always be 28? That's so cute, but it is only 28. So I guess we will just subjugate them as soon as we research multilateral alliances, and we maybe want to go ahead of time on multilateral alliances at this point. It feels so weird to do that instead of malaria prevention, but to that end, what we could do is, if we're going to start going ahead of time in some tech, maybe, especially because we're about to get rotary valve engine, which will make our pops much more, pop efficient or efficient per laborer in kind of the home base area, which is still cranking on up quite a bit, where we have, close to 10 million pops here, 6 million, 7.5, really getting a very dense building tall kind of here. But what we could do is we could come off the freedom of movement a little bit, which, to be fair, we have a whole bunch of level 1 universities and arts academies all over the place, but instead, and those arts academies and unis are inefficiently built, but instead of getting this extra mass migration quota, which is allowing us to really crank in a ton of migrants, what we could maybe consider doing is going the research one, because we are about to go ahead of time on multilateral alliances pretty hard, I think, because we are kind of on the bleeding edge. We're not spreading very many things, and so when you go ahead of time, you allow yourself more opportunity to get some NAT spread going on. So I think we might do this, but at the very least, we're going to get rotary valve engine first. Alright, I feel like I've made a little bit of a mistake here because I didn't realize guarantee independence gives you leverage. And we could have been doing this on Ukraine this entire time. We have been trying to get Ukraine in our bloc this entire time, and this is going to give us a big tick up in addition to our cohesion restoring to roughly around level 60. And so, ooh, minus enactment time, we love that. Don't think that that's going to be too radical. I guess it is going to be a little radical, but I think that, yeah, this is going to result in a leverage advantage of 210 is going to be what we trend towards, and so I think we are going to be able to pull Ukraine into our power block. The problem is we're going to have to find a way to maintain cohesion, and as such, we've started to give concessions. So if we take a look here, you might notice our market's got a little blop in it. We gave them control their own market because they asked for it, because those were one of the rebellious states. We are improving relations with the Raj. We hope that they, once we get the Raj up above 20, the Liberty Desire should actually start coming down, and they are the only one with the really high Liberty Desire. We have been doing a lot of stuff to try and rein it back in. I guess Hybridad is also pretty high. Is Hybridad going up? No, they're going down at a decent clip. Endor is going down, and we're improving relations with them. And so I think once we get kind of all... Kutch is a little bit of a problem. Once we get all of these guys under control, we should be able to start reducing autonomy on people in a way that is somewhat reasonable, with a lot of this, stuff going down. I guess we have to work on these guys a little bit. We'll probably invest in their country in order to make it a bit more entangled to try and help out with this modifier. I think that we were sponsoring lobbyists for a little while. Maybe we need to sponsor lobbyists with this guy again. They have some places like here with a bunch of peasants, and so we can build up... what should we build up? I guess let's just throw down a bunch of dyes and some of this stuff, and hopefully that'll make our economies a little bit more entangled, so that we can start pushing everything down. We don't want to get cruel, so this should help us out, and we should be able to get Ukraine in the power block very shortly. So we just finished rotary valve engine, and we start using the PM in various places, and it of course does fire off a whole bunch of pops, and so we will have a bunch of unemployed pops here temporarily. You can see some of them are already becoming peasants, but with that, I think we are going to do is we are going to swap on over. We went freedom of movement because we were under the understanding that our guy wouldn't get syphilis, and he did. As one does, and so instead of being able to go for a ton of migration, which is why we put in freedom of movement, we're going to go advanced research and look to go ahead of time in the tech a little bit. I'm pretty sure that, okay, so our cap is now gone from 150 to 204, but also we're going to have a smaller ahead of time penalty. We're not going ahead of time immediately, but already you can see we are going to get a lot more research speed just off the bat here, getting in 11 months, and then we will be going ahead of time for multilateral alliances in order to do kind of much higher or much lower infamy, high infamy stuff, if you know what I mean, with the idea that I think that once we get this, and it's only going to take us 30 months to get this, we are going to be going after Qing next time we get a chance. In fact, If it's only taking 30 months, maybe we want malaria prevention then first. Actually, I think that we just beat everyone into the Congo anyways, and this is gratuitous and unnecessary, so we could probably just do that afterwards. But this is going to be pretty nice when we get this. It stacks multiplicatively, if I'm not mistaken, with all the other infamy reduction stuff we have. So instead of costing 28 infamy to subjugate the Heavenly Kingdom, it will only cost 21 infamy to subjugate the Heavenly Kingdom. So we get a little bit lucky here in that we have this play where we're full annexing Uyghurstand, so they will not back down, and we don't have to worry about putting stuff in primary, and Russia joins along inside this. So we're going to have a little bit of a think about what we want to do in terms of this, but we can put whatever war goals we want in on Russia, and Russia won't be able to back down, they won't be able to get out, there will be zero escape for them, and so we are in pretty good shape here for being able to really bring them down a few pegs. Gonna have to figure out what's the easiest or best way to reduce kind of their power, and it's probably going to be, if we hover GDP, maybe this is a decent way of looking at it, but we're not going to be able to release that much GDP out from them, so maybe we can isolate their market through clever releases. Ingria is right here, so if we could release something around the circle here, that would isolate their market, which would cause them to decay down, and of course we could also just go for the humiliation, which will give them minus 20% prestige for an extended period of time, and they get joint plays against us, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because we love that they joined this play against us, but if we take a look here, and we look at prestige, I don't even think minus 20%, I don't think that's sufficient for bringing them down a notch. That'll bring them down roughly at 100, and they'll still have 130 to go before they decrease to major power. To be fair, we've been pretty active about specifically annexing small powers to make it so that the requirement for GP is harder and harder to fulfill, but we'll need to figure out exactly what we want to go for here. We finally managed to get Ukraine into our power block. We did have to give them an obligation, and it was a roll of a 68% chance, but we managed to nab it. We, of course, do have our fancy hat, because we are literary, and I guess this guy is also erudite, which is allowing him to grace his skull with the hat. For our war, we've decided to, I said for our war, wait, which one's our war? No, not like this. This is our war. For our war, we decided to go for Alaska because we want Alaska to eventually get colonized, and we have to take Alaska, and then we also have to revoke their claim on Alaska, so that's going to take forever to do. We also went for, in particular, liberating these guys, or a guy who will cut off their market right here, and I think we have one more liberation in there, or was that it? Nope, we went for a humiliation as well. Maybe we should have lived another instead of humiliated. We probably should, but we wanted to stick it to them. Emotionally, we wanted to humiliate them more than anything else, really. Okay, for everyone who's been, like, looking at the performance and being like, Generals, it's going so slow, we deleted some of the trade routes, and look, the game is progressing at a decent clip again, and this isn't even deleting all the trade routes we can delete. This has been kind of a performance problem for forever. It is, but the entire reason we're using as many trade routes as we are is because we're trying to get a whole ton of influential trade centers for the extra Diplo, so that we can make use of it, and so it feels a little bit bad that this is like kind of the spot that we're in, but I think we're just going to keep doing this because in the interest of the nation, it is better for us to have more Diplo, as it were. Yeah, that's fine. I guess we should read that a little bit better. We're trying to do public health insurance. We're not super hyper committed to it, but I do think we eventually want to go state religion, and if we're going state religion, it's only going to get harder and harder to do public health insurance, although it'll be easier after the next election, because then what will happen is not the industrialists, but the trade unions will actually get some clout. I think we'll take them getting a little bit mad at, I thought we were going to take them being a little bit madder at us, but that doesn't look so good. We don't want to rev. I mean, we totally can rev. We're actually, like, built up for fighting a rev, but I don't think we want to. That's a little bit grim, but this war's not grim, or it's grim for Russia. Also, I think that what we're going to do is we are going to double check and see if Russia has any war goals on us. They don't have any war goals on us, so we'll just blitz down their capital. But if they didn't have war goals on us, we would actually try and intentionally avoid their capital and just cause as much devastation as possible. We still have a bunch of guys with pillage and such, and we're hoping to cause a lot of damage, such that they will break free. Also, hopefully Finland gets free here, because Russia's a little busy with other stuff right now, like getting occupied. So right as we enforce on Uyghur we go from having a negative convoy balance of about 500 to having a positive of about 5k. This is because this has created, or maybe we unpause and just double check that it's not done thinking, but this has created a land bridge from Persia, which takes fewer sea nodes to get to than, the Far East over here in the Yellow Sea, and so this is going to refund us a lot of convoys. This is a big part of why we were kind of drawing this line, and I think that this is going to be a really common play pattern, because this territory is really, really valuable, and you kind of want to take it earlier. Beijing is really good, Shaanxi is really good, and if you're taking those, Mongolia also makes sense. These places have a ton of iron and coal, and if you're taking Mongolia, then it's just a little bit more for Uyghur, and then if Persia is somehow market access for you, if you're, in Europe, this will be much, much cheaper on the convoys to kind of do this across the north of China setup. We don't often hit apocalypse mode where literally everything is red, but when we do, everything's actually going spectacularly. We are enforcing on Russia, or we're going to enforce on Russia relatively quickly here, and get the full shebang. We, of course, did annex this, and we are suffering a little bit from convoys. I don't know, port connections just kind of spazzing out here, or maybe it's supply routes, but we went from like plus 3k to minus 10k. I don't know exactly if that's because someone with a really big army assigned funny or something to this effect, but we do get the capital here on Russia, so we will be kind of being able to do stuff pretty quick here. Just in one more tick, and we will be able to humiliate and do the whole shebang. But I think we're actually just going to draw it out and just occupy them for as long as possible until they capitulate out. That way, maybe we can raid more convoys and hurt their GDP more. You can see their GDP is tanking from this. And if we can do enough damage, cause enough devastation, maybe we can get them to decay out of being a great power. If we take a look now, they were at like 500 at the start of the war, and we see, hey, they're only 368 now, so hopefully this decays them down. Maybe. We'll see. So we pull Ural into the block, and now we're setting our sights on Spain as well. We're just going to stack as many Diplopacts of various kinds as we can. Probably guarantee there... Oh, we need a little bit more Diplo. Unfortunately, this means we might need to shake the trade tree. We don't want to shake the trade tree because it makes the game go slower, but then we want to shake the trade tree. I think that, well, what are we trending towards now? Because we just put in a bankroll on Spain, and we can see what we're trending towards on Spain, and we see we're trending towards plus 32, which is actually a little bit less than what we have currently. The anti-British League is a bit of a problem, and so if we sponsor our own league, we will hope that the Spanish-British Fellowship can gain quite a bit. We're getting quite a bit from being adjacent to them thanks to this treaty port, so that's pretty nice. And if we can, like, get Spain, and then, 5 years down the road, we... make them a subject, make Ural a subject, make Spain a subject. That's a lot of free subjects, so we'll hope to be able to do that. We also need to try and keep this high, and so we might even end up releasing some people like a Bundelkhand. It's unfortunate that the British Raj is actually recognized, because otherwise annexing them would maybe be appealing, because it costs us virtually zero infamy to go after, let's take a look at what Heavenly Kingdom is. We did finish multilateral alliances, but it costs us virtually zero infamy to go after people who are unrecognized. So if we take a look, subjugating China is going to be like 20 infamy. So let's take a look. Diplomatic demands. I said diplomatic demands. Unavailable demands. That's the one. And if we take a look here, protectorate, less than 20 infamy. Sorry. It's not like the 20. It's less than 20. And you can see all these modifiers stacked on top of each other is just creates this absolutely insane, price point as far as infamy goes. Alright, so we finally pass regular health insurance instead of the charity hospitals. Charity hospitals, you can only go up to level 2. That's kind of the biggest drawback now on this, or level 3, I suppose, with the final tech, but now we will be able to upgrade this all the way, so that feels fantastic. And now we're going to try again. We're going to try again and hope that our guy doesn't get syphilis again, because, that's how it be sometimes. We're going to double check real quick, make sure that our most popular guy is in fact an Intelligentsia that is humanitarian. Hopefully he didn't die randomly in the meantime while we were waiting, because we did recruit up a guy who was 35 in terms of popularity, and hopefully he didn't get randomly roll just an absolute terrible trait. I do think we probably promoted him all the way, so we probably could have figured out that, okay, there he is. There's the boyo. He has expensive tastes. That's fine, just as long as those expensive tastes don't include syphilis. We are going to exile this gentleman. Now, we hope that we don't roll a historical character again, because then we'll be super, super sad, but it'll be what it is. We're going to get -5 approval, which is going to suck, but, we will get our humanitarian. There we go. Big nice. So we are going to also slot everything in. I think that this is going to be our most legitimate. We are going to get started on the law before the people can get upset. And then okay, it's just going to radicalize the rural folk. Perfect. And 23% is a pretty good chance. But we will probably... it's going to be tough for us to bolster. We want to try and figure out a way to get this to be even more odds to pass multiculturalism. And I'm trying to think what we can do. We can promote all these generals, but I think a lot of these guys are already promoted, except for the guys with not very good ideologies. I suppose we're kind of neutral to feminists now. We just don't want the guy to die again. We don't want the guy to die again, and then be looking for another humanitarian, and then not be able to do it. But I suppose these guys, we have to get kind of unlucky because these guys have to roll more popular ideologies, so we'll promote each of these guys one, because they will give a bonus to the clout on the Intelligentsia. And then, see, if we just unpause and let the game think for a second, it'll go up just a smidge, but this will be nice, and so hopefully we will be able to get multiculturalism here. Hopefully, and then once we do that, then we can go state religion, I think. We've been freedom of conscience for, like, forever, and once we go state religion, I think that this will play quite nicely, because, honestly, the post-nerfed propagandist is really not that attractive, especially because migration attraction is so much easier to find. Now with, we will eventually go back onto the migration principle, such that it's much less important, and I think we'd actually rather just have the combination of authority and throughput. Okay, this is just beautiful. We're going after the Far East, the releasable from Russia, and just look at how little infamy everything is costing. Because we're stacking all these modifiers. We're getting -40%, -35%, -20%. Now, that stacks multiplicatively, otherwise that would be at actual 0. Or I think that the technology stacks multiplicatively with the other stuff. In any case, it's reducing this incredibly low. It would be 5 infamy for this particular war goal, and it's reducing it by around a little over 80% in terms of cost. And so this is what we've been doing. We've been expanding pretty steadily in all unrecognized areas. We've conquered almost all of Central Asia. This is one of the reasons why we like kind of releasing stuff from Russia, because if we release stuff and then it's unrecognized, it's much cheaper for us to take in terms of the infamy. But like, we are getting ready to subjugate Qing. We're probably going to wait for malaria prevention, and we don't even have the max reduction of infamy. We get that from Colonial Affairs level 5, where we will get -25%, and we are just expanding in the unrecognized powers. I think eventually we just turn a corner, and then we go after the recognized countries, and then we just go to 1k infamy, and we change our block from sovereign empire to military block. Or at the very least, we are going to... offensive coordination is in the other block, so we would change to the military block just as soon as we decide to turn the corner. And we have so many subjects anyways, it's not going to matter. Even if we have, like, actual, like, zero cohesion, we're still going to generate mandate extremely quickly. And in 1.7.4, they changed it, so now you can annex countries even if they are disloyal, and so... we should be able to just absolutely pop off after a certain point, but right now, we're still in, like, build and get, basically, these guys for free mode, because we put in all the conquer states. They will never back down once this is already put in, or will almost never back down, and even if they do, we get refunded most of the infamy. See, they switch it over to uncertain, because they would be annexed if they'd back down. They don't recognize that if they back down, they only give up the primary. In their head, they just give up everything. And so we will be, cleaning up the borders. The borders didn't look too good a couple seconds ago in terms of the border gore, but now it's getting much better. Alright, so we get quite early malaria prevention going ahead of time. And now I think what we're going to do is we're going to swap our block back to something, to freedom of movement, because we're not going to be going ahead of time anymore, and we're just going to submit that. Is that going to cause some lag? Okay, I guess it will. Just a tidbit, just the tip, and we're already pretty well set up for freedom of movement, and then with that, we will start getting much more mass migrations, and then what we can also do in terms of tech, let's come in here. We were not planning on going ahead of time anymore, so instead I think we're going to go for pump jacks. I think it's going to be pretty good, because we actually do have a lot of opium plantations ourselves, and discovering oil will be solid. We have a lot of territory that has oil, although we don't have very good oil sinks at this current juncture. I think this is fine enough. Also, we in general want to be moving stuff in the direction of being ahead of time, and dynamite's just a dynamite tech, if you will. We also are just brushing up against 500 billion GDP, so that's going to be quite nice there. And I think we're going to conclude the episode here. We did do that little maneuver, kind of sliding around our principles, and I think this is going to be a fun play pattern, trying to decide which principles are good during which phases of the game. I think the most substantive thing that we're probably going to highlight is we actually pulled Ukraine into our block, and we're going to be subjugating them sometime down the road. We fought Russia. That was, we did a lot of things that are maybe not as visible on the map that seem pretty substantive, like the really, really reduced infamy cost is just allowing us to munch through all this. We fought Russia, but we couldn't reduce them to being less than a great power, unfortunately, or we couldn't reduce their prestige for a long enough period of time, but we're really well poised to be able to do that, next episode. So I think next episode we will be winning the great game, because half their market's isolated over here, and that's really bad for them. And then also kind of a little behind the scenes, something that we've been keeping track of, we finally are starting to get lower liberty desire on the British Raj specifically, and you can see that we are bankrolling them, but in addition to bankrolling them, less visible off to the side, although I wish it was visible off to the side, is we have been funding lobbies for some time, so we are dumping 120k into trying to get these guys to come on down. Really, I think it's the fact that their lobbies are a little sticky, and also the thing is, I think that while we're funding lobbies, I think it actually does make it worse for us in the short term. So if we could take a look here, we can always just start funding lobbies again. This is going to increase the leverage generation for political lobbies. Right now there's negative lobbies, and so why don't we just take a quick look at what happens if we come on off that. We was 0.02 before. I think we'll have to pause, minus 0.02, and I think that this is going to get a little bit better for us as the game calculates. Okay, I guess it's just exactly the same, but I was thinking that it's increasing both the negative numbers and the positive numbers by 25%, and if it's doing that, then Opium Wars, what? The third Opium Wars, alright. Well, I mean, okay, what? Jesus, poor China. This is the worst timeline for them. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Do the YouTube algorithm thing. And other than that, have a good one.